Welcome to this BVTV Spotcast coming to you from the UK studios of BizVision, and I'm your host, Malcolm Gallagher. This is number 3 in the Power of Joy trilogy with author and joyful living expert, Anne Scottlin. Hello again, Anne.
Hello again, Malcolm. How are you?
Well, I'm worried because this is our final one in the trilogy.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. You've got to get my batteries full because it's got to last until we see each again next time.
Oh.
And I love the way you so professionally tackle the personal issues of the day and maintain that desirable goal of live for joy. But I keep going back to the challenges that people have or are facing today. One of those is anxiety. It's often hidden, hard to see, and people are reluctant to acknowledge their anxiety. You have 3 ways that we can diffuse anxiety. So can you give us that valuable insight into them?
I can. So my 3 ways to diffuse anxiety are not the traditional ones. So I'm not going to tell you to meditate or anything like that. It's a little more simplistic, and not everyone will agree with me. But number 1, when you're filled with anxiety, and let me clarify, this is if you have clinical anxiety and you should be seeking professional help, then do that. Yeah. I'm talking about your everyday garden variety anxiety that we all experience, right? Number 1, stop trying to solve it. Stop trying to figure it out. Because sometimes you can and sometimes you can't, and neither one of those things necessarily solve it. Stop trying to figure it out. Just give your mind a break. We have, as human beings, we have this obsession with processing and problem solving. And sometimes you just have to it is what it is, right? Stop resisting it and just kind of relax a little bit. I know that sounds very simplistic, but I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I've got you. Yeah.
Number 2 is stop resisting it. So stop trying to solve it. That's number 2, stop resisting it. It's just like you've heard certain kind of healers and so forth say, well, if you stop obsessing about the headache or focusing on the headache, it can help start to diffuse it. The same with anxiety. Just stop resisting it. Let the thought happen. It's not going to kill you. Let the thought happen and then move through it, and don't get stuck there. Cleanse it out. Give it a chance to just kind of feel the headache, and then move on. But by acknowledging it, sometimes we calm down our nervous system to the fact that there's some problem that we should be, fight or flight mode for. So that's number 2. And number 3 is don't let those thoughts of anxiety make themselves at home. I always have this, I need to draw it one day. I always have this this drawing in my mind of anxiety sitting on the couch with a drink and a whole bunch of snacks and the TV on and the remote. And they're like, this is cool. You're making me really happy here. So don't let your anxiety make itself at home. Find ways to cleanse it, whether that's through exercise or meditation for some people, or maybe just going out and having some fun, focusing on your joy. Because if nothing else, if you let your mind be full of anxiety, you're not going to have room for joy. But if you start committing to more joy, there's going to be less room for anxiety.
I must admit, you're so right. Since pre-pandemic, I was driving 20,000 miles through flying thousands of miles to present big events and so on there. And obviously that all shutters came down at nighttime, March 2020. But I've had to then force myself to change. But then I've discovered things like Mother Nature. Those things that you don't see when you're driving along in a metal box, and things are flying in a metal box there. And now I'm discovering it. And so we've got a lot of trees in a garden here and everything. And it's quite nice just to go out in between interviews and just have a chat to the tree. They don't talk back, of course, realize that.
No, I do. But I am with you, Malcolm. Nature is my best friend. I say nature is my cathedral. Nature is where I do all my rejuvenating. And, we were placed in nature. That's our natural habitat. So a great way to start connecting to your joy and diffusing anxiety is definitely, whether you live in the middle of the city and you just go outside and sit in the park or in the garden for a few minutes, or whether you get a chance to go out and go hiking or go for a boat ride, do something. It's tremendous what it can do for us. And you do start noticing things. The birds, you forget sometimes when you're really stressed out, you don't hear the birds singing. I went through a period of my life where 3 months, I didn't hear them, but I didn't think about it. And then one day I walked out of my house when I was come out the other side of a tough time, and I heard the birds singing. I was like, well, where have the birds been? And I realized it was just my awareness. So making some intentional thought around that, especially with nature, is immensely helpful.
It totally is. And I'm so lucky where I live, we only have sheep and ruined castles up here. So it's easy to social distance. But I suddenly discovered in the garden, because, I've always been coming and going all the time there and driving. I've suddenly discovered, there's a hedgehog the other day there, and the squirrel comes in, and there's a badger around and all that, and the deer are walking past the guy. Now that's been happening for all the years we've been here, but I've never seen it. Wow. Now I do. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm so glad that you're seeing it. It's such a better quality of life.
Without a doubt. Yeah. Now, thanks, Anne. Now, let me remind our audience of your URL, your main website URL. I'm going to give you a bonus one in a second, which is obviously you can see on the screen behind me. It's all the W's, Anne with an E, Scottlin, SCOTTLIN, AnneScottlin.com. And Anne's book is called Live for Joy, but she's got a special website for that, and it's all the W's, liveforjoybook.com, and you'll be seeing it across the bottom of the screen, and available in many places, but especially on Amazon. Now, I said at the beginning of this trilogy that we should always try to look on the bright side of life. In point of fact, it's both our favorite songs, isn't it? Always look on the bright side.
Yes. You're singing that all day now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I won't get out of my head tonight. You do realize that. I know that may sound a glib statement, but it's as important to say, taking your daily medicine. I trust you feel like me that this trilogy with Anne Scottlin has given you the impetus to seek to live for joy. Thanks, Anne.
Thanks, Malcolm. Have a joyful day.